Hey, hey, hey. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, April 6th, 2022. This is live stream 774. This is your first time joining me. Let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then taking a first look at a tabletop gaming release. Normally, every once in a while, I'll do a review, but for the most part, we're usually taking a peek at a board game or role-playing game. Tonight, we are having a War Game Wednesday. Yes, it has been a while since we've had a War Game Wednesday, but I am going to dive on in, unbox, and take a first look at Plains Indian Wars from GMT Games. And this looks mighty interesting. So that is what we'll be looking at tonight. Do want to mention that, first off, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news. So if you are tuning in live to check out Plains Indian Wars, it'll be about 30 minutes or so. So kick back, relax, enjoy. And of course, if you are watching this stream at least 30 minutes or more after it ends, there will be timestamps. So if you want to jump ahead past the tabletop gaming news, you can. And you'll find those timestamps in the show notes. You know, the little area that you see more or show more. You click on, that's how you'll find them. And of course, depending on the device that you're watching this show on, it might even have the timestamps right there in the timeline of the video as you watch. So I say it all the time, people don't pay attention. There are timestamps if you are not watching live. If you're watching live, there's no way for you to jump ahead into the future, at least not to my knowledge. Maybe you can, I can't. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Gaming Gang Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube. Also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my review of the Rune Quest starter set from Chaosium Inc. Yes, and it is very good. Very good. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more, including Sammy's review of the finale to the Pathfinder Strength of Thousands adventure path. It is Shadows of the Ancients, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yes, it is. So that review is up, and I will give you a little preview by telling you that it is Sammy's favorite adventure path ever that she's taken a peek at for Pathfinder. So nice finale. Very cool. So by all means, check that out. Of course, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. So one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Also, to take part in chat, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours. Another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. So first out the gate tonight was the Madman. Yes, the Motor City Madman himself. He is one of our chat moderators, so behave. This VOD 92, John Vogel is with us. Mr. Eddie T, Helga Ratbone, Sarah D pops out to wave and pops back behind the scenes. So we got chat off and running. Sweet. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the tabletop gaming news in just a minute. But first, I do want to mention something. And if you follow me on Twitter, I tweeted about this a little earlier today. And I'm going to make it short, and I'm going to try to keep the language clean, even though I don't want to, but I'm going to try. Because for one, I guess YouTube doesn't like when you swear early in your videos. I guess you could drop F-bombs after the 30-minute mark, and it's like, whatever. But they don't like to hear that kind of stuff early in the videos. That's what I've heard through the grapevine. So anyway, so I've been covering tabletop gaming for almost 13 years. And I have to say, recently, in the past couple of years, people have gotten so much more rude and hostile and in some ways hateful. Not always in the comments. Comments, when they're public comments, they tend to, they're still assholes about things, but they try to stay away from being threatening because they know if they become threatening, then there's going to be an issue and, they're going to be suspended off of YouTube or Google or what have you, right? I can flag somebody for abuse. Email, not so much. So over the past, I'd say 2, almost 3 years, it's just, this hobby is supposed to be a good time. We're supposed to have an enjoyable time. You can disagree with my opinions. You can dislike the way that my videos are structured or the way the dispatch is structured, that I do the tabletop gaming news first and then I do my first look at a game. That's fine. You know what? I'm not changing things, but if you don't like it, that's okay. There's the door. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Now, I don't mind constructive criticism. What I do mind are people who are just dickheads. People are just trolls. And then you call them out on it, and then they're like, oh, what an attitude you've got. It's like, wait a second. You're the one who came to me acting like a jerk off. Yeah, I guess the language is a little bluer than it should be, but no F-bombs yet. So anyway, it gets to the point sometimes where it's like, why do I do this? There is absolutely no reason that I need to do this. It's not as if somebody out there is paying me, right? It's not as if I run I've pointed out time and time again, I don't run Kickstarters to stick around and do this. I am not reaching into your pocket to stick around. Yes, of course. There is the one bookshelf sites like Drive-Thru RPG where I get a little portion of those sales that are made. I also have some advertising that will take place on the website. And of course, there is the paypal.me. From time to time, a few people out there will toss a few bucks. But I don't sit there doing big crowdfunding projects to stay around. So I'm not obligated to anybody. I'm not obligated to game companies. I'm not obligated to viewers. I'm not obligated to visitors to the website. I'm not. And I got to say, it gets to the point where sometimes I'm like, I got some stuff today. It was like 3 different things. I was like, you know what? Blow me. One guy commented on, I think it was one of the Fading Suns videos. And it said, you waste way, capitalized, too much time rambling on before getting to the page through. You need to stop that. This is something you've done in other videos too. So, of course, I commented back, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Feel free, create your own channel, shoot your own videos, and you can present content however you'd like. There are also timestamps for you to skip past the things that you feel is just rambling. And in the most of the time, it is me sharing tabletop gaming news that a lot of people like, and a lot of people who have no interest in the game that I'm tackling that night tune in to check out. So of course, right away, it's like, oh, what an attitude you've got. I'm only just trying to be helpful, trying to tell you that you should move your unboxings to the beginning of the video. Never mentioned that. It was, you need to stop doing this. You waste way too much time. There was nothing about, oh, you should, why don't you do the unboxing first? Like I said, 98% of the people involved in this hobby are just awesome. Problem is, they don't say anything. They don't comment on videos saying, hey, you know what? Thanks for introducing me to that. Or, oh, wow, I wasn't aware of this game. Or thank you for your review. Or whatever. At least 98% don't do that. But they're cool people. Then you got the 2% who are these like weird, like, incels, I guess we'll say. I guess that is a term. And I know the Madman has mentioned, there's always going to be people, they're dissatisfied with life. So they have to, make sure that they share their dissatisfaction with you. And if I wasn't around, they'd be sharing it with somebody else. So I'm doing my part. I'm taking a bullet for other people. Anyway, so it's just, sometimes that's one of the reasons why every quarter or so I take a week off, because it's like, I just need to take a break away from listening to these people's comments. And normally it's gotten to the point where I just delete stuff. But the problem is I delete and block the user. Problem is I still have to see it the first time. And of course, the emails, I get emails, from people's Hotmail accounts. Ooh, it's so tough. Oh, you're so bad with your anonymous email address. So the Madman says, you do it for the rest of us that appreciate you and what you do. The others can kiss me where the sun don't shine. Just about 92 says, F them. They have to watch. See, that's the other thing that I don't understand. If you don't like this stream, then watch it. So what? Right, this is about 92. You don't have to watch. There's plenty of other tabletop gaming content out there. There are plenty of other people out there who are probably putting stuff together the way you specifically need it to be presented so that your brain can actually tabulate that information. You don't have to hang around here. I'm not in a bad mood or anything. It's just, it's so tiresome. And I got to be honest, I have thick skin. I can't imagine some of these content creators out there and the nonsense that they have to put up with day in and day out. Unbelievable. All right, let's move on to the news, because Czech Games Edition has revealed a new expansion for Galaxy Trucker. Here's the dope on. Keep on trucking. Do you laugh at pirates, shrug off combat zones, and meet every meteor with cannons blazing? If you've mastered the basics of Galaxy Trucker, then you're ready for this expansion. Corp Inc. has new ships they would like you to try. Ships that will challenge you. Ships that will make you think. What were they thinking? Your ships will be thoroughly tested by new adventures. And if your flights still seem easy, Rough Roads cards can turn a humdrum milk run into a twisted spatio-temporal nightmare. I hate when those happen. To meet these challenges, you'll have access to new components offering new tactical options. and you'll be able to fly with new aliens who each have a unique ability. The different parts of the expansion can be mixed and matched, allowing you to choose the combination that will be the most fun for you. So, whether you're flying with grizzled veterans who miss the thrill of exploding spaceships or teaching newbies who just survived their first flight, this expansion will help you keep on trucking. You'll be able to build your own spaceship. Can it withstand the perils of deep space? New spaceship components give players new tactical options. New aliens can bring each spaceship a unique ability. Rough Roads cards allow players to increase the difficulty level. New spaceship types shake up the standard building strategies. Different parts of the expansion can be mixed and matched, allowing players to customize each flight the way they want it. Galaxy Trucker Keep On Trucking is for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. Plays in around 30 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $29.95 when it arrives in August. This is slated to be a Gen Con release. So if you are fans of the new edition, the second edition of Galaxy Trucker, the streamlined edition of Galaxy Trucker, you will probably want to keep your eyes peeled for this expansion. I gotta say, I think Czech Games hasn't had much cooking this year. And of course, at last Gen Con, when I sat down for an interview, it was kind of pointed out that this year they were going to focus on Lost Ruins of Arnak and Galaxy Trucker as far as doing some expansions. So that is what we see. So sweet, pretty nice. Jesus Nava has joined us in chat. Welcome back. Make yourself at home. Moving along, arriving this summer from Bombyx is Garden Nation. And here's what I know about the game. Decide who will suffer the consequences. The little people exiled from the forest have found shelter in an abandoned garden to build a new town. In the space of a few weeks, wooden crates are transformed into apartments, the old transistor radio into a cabaret, the coffee pot into a belfry. But very quickly, each clan wants to seize control of the town by any means possible, completing official projects, taking control of territories, performing secret missions, and even the invasion of opponent buildings. In Garden Nation, the 4 clans wish to build a city on the 7 territories of the garden, but each is trying to gain the upper hand. In the game, you construct buildings by rearranging coffee pots or bird feeders to complete official projects and secret missions. Each new floor costs more and more inhabitants. However, once the goal is reached, the colors of these people float there, thus validating these common projects. The other leaders might not let this stand, however, and will invade the buildings of opponents to try to take them back. To impose your choices on others, you must master the art of this war, deciding who will play after you and where they will have to go. Your main actions during play are to build or abandon a building, validate a common project, and move the Torg, then choose the next player. I think the Torgu is the turtle mini that we will see in just a few moments there again. Then choose the next player. Over the course of play, the 3D city progressively grows on the board with the location of your action, determining where the next action will be carried out, and with you deciding who will act. Garden Nation is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 60 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $59.99 when it arrives in the 3rd quarter. I like the art style of this. I think the art style is very interesting. I'm kind of surprised that it's these like little fairy folk building a town, but it seems like there's a good amount of confrontation going on. Uh-huh. All right, let's move on to some role-playing game news because Paizo Inc. has a load of Pathfinder action and adventure on tap for May. And I'm going to talk about the major releases for you to look forward to because, all in all, there are, I want to say off the top of my head, 10 different Pathfinder releases next month from Paizo Inc. I don't believe there's anything for Starfinder, although we did just get two back-to-back Adventure Path chapters. So first off, we have Pathfinder Lost Omens, Knights of Last Wall. Fulfill your oath. When the armies of the Whispering Tyrant marched on Last Wall, the keeps and cities may have fallen, but its people and their spirit did not falter. Lost Omens, Knights of Last Wall takes a detailed look at the knights that took up arms to continue the fight against the undead hordes and evils that roam the world. This book presents information on the Knights of Last Wall organization, from joining the ranks to knightly training, to the missions to protect the innocent and defeat evil. The book also features new rules, content. I need a sip here. Is Flaming Heron has joined us in chat. He's our other chat moderator. The book also features new rules content, including new equipment, magic items, spells, and support for Knights of Last Wall archetypes for players who want to play a knight in their campaigns. This hardcover will carry an MSRP of $34.99, or you'll be able to grab the PDF for $24.99. Then we have the Pathfinder Adventure Path number 179, Cradle of Quartz. This is part 2 of the 3-part Outlaws of Alkenstar. Time is of the essence when the formula for the devastating explosive Pyronite falls into the wrong hands. To secure the formula and even the score with the sinister rival who ruined them, a motley gang of outlaws must brave the weird and wild wastes of the spell-scarred desert. At the center of this mutant-filled wasteland, the outlaws discover an abandoned temple of time called the Cradle of Quartz. It's English, Jeff. Read the English. It's right in front of you. But while redemption and a fresh start might be nice perks, the outlaws seek something far more valuable among the Cradle's time-warped halls: revenge. Cradle of Quartz is a Pathfinder adventure for 4 4th-level characters. This adventure continues the Outlaws of Alkenstar Adventure Path, a 3-part monthly campaign in which a band of outlaws unravel an explosive criminal plot in the heart of the city of Smog, Alkenstar. This adventure also includes an exploration of the magic warped wastes east of Alkenstar, the spell-scarred desert, new feats, items, and rules options perfect for gunslingers, gearheads, and grenadiers, and new steampunk creatures and mutant monsters to befriend or bedevil your players. This softcover will carry an MSRP of $24.99, or you can snag the PDF for $17.99. Then we get the standalone Pathfinder adventure, Shadows at Sundown. Over 10 years ago, the city of Korvosa suffered under the rule of the tyrannical Queen Eosa. The city has recovered from her rule, but now people are seeing her ghost appearing after dark in places where her cruelty hit particularly hard. Whispers of conspiracies, people vanishing off the streets, and the death of a prominent local religious leader have the city of Korvosa on edge. Can you unravel the truth about this latest threat to the city before it's too late? Shadows at Sundown is a Pathfinder adventure for 11th level characters, featuring the potential return of several classic villains. No. An extensive investigation of a supernatural mystery, and several dangerous locations to explore. This adventure is ready to give your group the chance to save the city of Korvosa from some of its most notorious dangers, or the chance for the heroes to see their final sunset. This softcover will carry an MSRP of $24.99, or you can grab the PDF for $17.99. Then there's the Pathfinder Alchemy deck. Just as in Alchemist's formula book holds the key to crafting alchemical items, the Pathfinder Alchemy deck contains cards for every alchemical item from the Pathfinder core rulebook and the Advanced Player's Guide. Each card holds the item statistics, a description, and a beautiful full-color illustration so you can see every item in your collection. Whether you're a GM building an alchemist stall or a player assembling a formula book, the Alchemy deck keeps your reagents at your fingertips. This deck carries an MSRP of $22.99. Then finally, we have the Pathfinder deck of endless NPCs. Creating an impromptu original character every time the heroes enter a shop or chat with a local on the street can be a real challenge. But the deck of endless NPCs makes it as simple as drawing 4 cards from the deck. These cards combine to form a unique NPC, each with their own role, motivation, personality trait, and secret agenda. With over 100 million different combinations, you are sure to get an interesting new character to add to your story every time. This includes 104 NPC cards plus 6 rules cards explaining how to use the deck. The front of each card has a portrait of the NPC, featuring characters from dozens of ancestries and ethnicities. The back of each card contains the character's role, goal, traits, and secret agenda, along with symbols to help determine some of the specific details. This includes ancestries from the Pathfinder Core Rulebook, Advanced Player's Guide, and the Lost Omens Character Guide. This deck will carry an MSRP of $24.99. And all of these are slated for a mid-May street date. Once again, as I mentioned, there are like 10 items that are coming for Pathfinder in May. One of them is the return of, I'm trying to remember. It was one of the first adventure paths for 2nd edition. It's only a 3-parter. And it's kind of a horror. Abomination Vaults, I think it is. So that's getting it's getting a hardcover release. And I believe it's also getting a soft cover with all 3 chapters together. So it'll probably clock in at, I would guess, 300 pages, because that's about 100 pages is about the length of each Pathfinder adventure path for Pathfinder. Starfinder are shorter. They're usually about 64 pages. So Flaming Heron points out, no shortage of Pathfinder goodness. I know, lots of it, loads of it. I've got plenty of Pathfinder and Starfinder coverage coming this month as well. I've got those 2 Starfinder Adventure Path chapters for Horizons of the Vast that I have to finish reading up and provide reviews for. All right, Bundle of Holdings revealed a money-saving offer featuring the Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of, say that 5 times fast, role-playing game from Modiphius Entertainment. I've got the deets on the deal. Adventurer. We've resurrected our July 2019 Conan Essentials Bundle with the core PDF rulebook and key supplements for Robert E. Howard's Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of, the 2D20-based tabletop sword and sorcery role-playing game from Modiphius Entertainment. Based on the famous sword and sorcery creations of pulp master, you guessed it, Robert E. Howard, and using the cinematic 2D20 rules, Infinity, Mutant Chronicles, the Conan RPG was funded in a February 2016 Kickstarter. An Aquilonian legion of designers, Howard experts, and superb Conan artists have helped make the Modiphius Conan an authentic RPG of Hyborian Age adventure. For just $9.95, you'll get all 3 titles in this Revived Offers starter collection, which have a retail value of $38, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete 436-page Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of core rulebook, the Conan Game Master Toolkit, and the map bundle. If you pay more than this Revived Offers threshold price of $25.72, you'll level up and also get the entire bonus collection with 4 more titles worth an additional $58, including the location book, Ancient Ruins and Cursed Cities, the Sorcery Source book, the Book of Skelos, the bestiary. Yeah, swallowed wrong. I'm like, I started to say bestiary. I'm like, the bestiary horrors of the Hyborian Age and nameless cults. Together, they're everything you need to launch a complete Hyborian Age campaign. These savings will run through April 25th, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to the not-for-profit initiative co-founded by Modiphius Entertainment owner Chris Birch, Roll versus Evil. Yes. Should mention, see, if there was a show tomorrow, I would have news about this other bundle. There is a second Conan bundle going on at Bundle of Holding, and it is for all the various like career books. So like Conan the Thief, King Conan, things like that. So Flaming Heron says certainly a lot of bundles of holding available at the moment. Yes, there are. And they now are doing something where they're doing like quick deals, which only run for a few days, as opposed to usually 2 to 3 weeks is what we'll see with the bundles. It is kind of odd though. Bundle of Holding, their bundles run all different lengths of time when they launch them. Sometimes they run 14 days. Sometimes they're 21 days. Some are 10. Now with these quick deals, they're like 3 to 5 days on them. So kind of curious why they decided to start doing these quick deals. So I don't know. Coco B has joined us. What is best in life? Playing Conan RPGs, saving money when buying Conan RPGs, spending savings on snacks for the table. And as a game master, listening to the lamentations of your players at the table. My final news piece, issue 20 of Dungeon Vault magazine has arrived in PDF from Elven Tower. Here's what to look forward to in this new issue. This is issue 20 of Dungeon Vault magazine, a compilation of adventures, lore, excellent cartography, and useful digital goodies. Dungeon Vault magazine is all about providing interesting ideas and lore to dungeon masters and storytellers. Within this issue, you'll find varied adventure ideas. These short modules do not stick to a unified template of sections. Instead, you're looking at organically created adventures, and they happen to follow their own pace. The types of modules you can expect are city or town settings, regional settings, dungeons, outdoor locations, encounter maps, and one-page adventures. I think that's pretty much covering a lot of ground there. The only exception is a 3-chapter adventure named The Fabled Vault, in which it is featured at the end of the magazine. These modules are all written with the 5th edition open game license in mind, but rules are often left to a minimum. Most adventures are appropriate for low to mid-level characters, levels 1 to 10. See, and you know, funny to me, 10 doesn't feel like it's mid-level. It's like high level. But actually, in 5e, it is mid-level. So we include a note at the beginning of each adventure with a ballpark estimation of party level and playing time. This 41-page magazine is available in PDF right now at Drive-Thru RPG for $5.95. It is on sale. It's usually $6.95. And I believe this just came out, I think it was the end of March, real early April. And this looks pretty interesting. This looks like a pretty professionally presented magazine with some 5e adventures. And there are virtual tabletop maps included. So that's very important as well, because especially if you're familiar with some adventures that are out there that provide you with the VTT maps, they tend to sometimes be really poor resolution. It's like, why did you include this? There's a certain company, I'm not going to name it by name, but they get a lot of complaints about their their digital maps. All right, that is it for tonight's news. Once again, I was just talking about the Dungeon Vault magazine being available at Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to swing over to, say, Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, by all means, stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, if you like what we do, you can always buy me a cup of coffee or some soda by swinging on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang. And thankfully, there are folks out there who use the links, the banner links from the website to go to the One Bookshelf sites. And folks pop by PayPal and make small donations, such as the Madman. Just recently did that. And it is much appreciated. Thank you very much. As I mentioned earlier, when I was doing my little bit of a rant, I don't run Kickstarters to stick around. I don't run crowdfunding projects to stick around. So once again, that's one of the reasons why I said, well, I'm not obligated to anybody. I'm not. So Coco B says they always play a ranger. So they forage the chip aisle before a game. As the Madman pointed out, ooh, snacks. Ooh, candy. Ooh, candy. Yes. So we are going to jump on into Plains Indian Wars in just a moment. But first, I think it's about time for a short intermission.
We've brought back those good old-time flavors, and today they're better than ever. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
So I would think that came from the mid 60s, would be my guess. Although I have to laugh as they show the dad coming back to, I assume he's the dad, coming back to the car. He's dropping popcorn all over the place. But when we were little kids and we'd go to the drive-in, I remember it was the same kind of setup. My dad would be in the driver's seat. My mom's in the passenger seat. My brother would be up front. My older brother. I only have one. And then I would be like in the back seat, like poking my head between the two seats. So when I saw that, I kind of laughed because it brought back memories. That is exactly how we would have been at the drive-in. So I have to chuckle. So the Madman says, yes, intermission, time for more snacks. And Flaming Heron says, and welcome to indigestion from all of those snacks. So the Madman says a few years ago, they bought a theater quality popcorn maker and didn't regret it one bit. Buttered popcorn. Funny enough, my best friend Elliot Miller did the same thing. This was last summer. And he would do like a drive-in at his house. He purchased like a big like screen to drop over the garage door, and he would have his family and some neighborhood kids and things like that. They would come in and watch movies throughout the summer. I thought that was pretty cool. I never got an invite. Which is okay with me. It's all right. But I did tease him about that. How come you never invited me over? Okay, so tonight I am going to dive on in and take a first look at Plains Indian Wars from GMT Games. It's designed by John Paniski with graphic design provided by Terry Leeds. This game is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in around 60 to 90 minutes. This is available right now. It does carry an MSRP of $65. Madman says, "Can I be friends with Elliot too?" When we finish the first look, we're gonna talk a little bit, real quick, about Elliot, and you might be surprised with what's going on behind the scenes. Anyway, all right. So, but you're not here to talk about Elliot. We're here to see Plains Indian Wars. I gotta say, I got 2 big boxes with the latest GMT releases. GMT is always top notch. They're just fantastic. And out of I think there were like 6 or 7 games off the top of my head. This one has really caught my eye because it looks very unique. It looks very different. So I'm going to read part of what's on the back here. The Great Plains in the latter half of the 19th century was a cultural battleground. The native way of life was under siege by an avalanche of invaders seeking land and progress. Plains Indian Wars reduces the monumental and catastrophic series of conflicts to its basic elements: a settler surge via long, snaking wagon trains, the building of the Transcontinental Railroad, and the cavalry sent to protect them all. At the same time, Plains Indian Wars seeks to offer the Native American player the opportunity to unite earlier, hold their own, and perhaps even prevent European American success. The game's map board centers on the Great American Plains between the Mississippi River in the east and the Rockies in the west, the Canadian border in the north, and Mexican border in the south. Players control 4 major and 2 minor factions, each earning victory points for controlling regions, as well as success or failure with wagon train migration and construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. The competition is fun, fast, and intense. Okay, so strangely enough, the competition is fun, fast, and intense. Just doesn't seem like that belongs on this box. I don't know. Because this is quite serious subject, in my opinion. For those of you who've ever traveled across the Midwest, it's pretty amazing. Especially thinking about how these tens of thousands of people cross this area of essentially 2,000 miles with just horsepower mainly. Some people walked. So I was like, oh my gosh. And when I used to deliver RVs across the country, I'd go through these areas where it was like, I can't imagine people traveling through here to make it to California or Oregon or Washington State or, New Mexico, Arizona. Just amazing. So we've got solitaire rules. We also have a rule book. So let's take a look at the rule book first. These are actually pretty short. John Bogle says they played this last Saturday, and they're hoping that I'm going to review it to see if we agree. So it's like, so what's your opinion on this game? John says they don't want to say in case I review the game. Yes, I do plan on reviewing the game. I do plan on trying to get this game to the table this weekend. So, all right, let's jump in the rule book. Let's take a look, see what we got here. I'm going to move some stuff around. So we get, let's see, we get the overview, the objective. The player who amasses the most victory points by the end of the last disc draw is the winner. See the victory point chart on the back of this booklet. Okay, so telling us about the components, important definitions. So we have different factions. So looks like we've got the Southern Plains Indians, the Northern Plains Indians, the U.S. Cavalry, and Settlers are the four factions, four main factions. There were also mention of some minor factions as well. So, talking about important definitions, here's our setup. I do believe that this game is rather abstract. So here we go. So here we have the factions. The Northern Plains tribes, Southern Plains tribes, cavalry, enemies of the Plains Indians. Okay. Then we got settlers, and then we have wagons. So these are the white cubes represent settler streams bound for Oregon or California. White cubes begin in St. Louis. Looks like we've got some custom dice as well. We've got the Transcontinental Railroad, which is being built at this time. Get a sequence of play. So it looks like we're drawing discs. So we have a draw bag, and each faction obviously has a color. And it looks like we're drawing discs from the draw bag. And of course, it's, random activation. So we've got cubes. This is card driven as well. And I understand that the cards are tarot card size, which is not something we usually see from GMT. So we've got our different dice telling us what our symbols are. Enemy special engagement situations. Yes, it's a special engagement. Book now for the enemies. It says the enemies were historically in an unenviable situation. Settlers generally viewed Indians and Mexicans as obstacles to settlement. Yeah, that is very true. The northern tribes and southern tribes were their sworn enemies. The cavalry tolerated and protected them only to the extent they were useful in weakening the tribes. Huh. Okay. This strikes me as a sort of game where there will be people who have issues with the history. I'm just taking a guess. It's just a vibe I've got. Once again, this is you saw me take the shrink wrap off. So I really don't know anything about the game outside of I took a peek at the back of the box earlier, and I took a peek at it when I first got them, and that's when I was like, oh, hey, this looks pretty interesting. So here we've got the solitaire rules. This is something I'm very curious about. So it looks like we've got a few different variants. Cool. Okay, so here's solitaire variant 1, telling us about the setup. So you play as the U.S. player, and the native peoples are the AI. And then we have another variant where the player is taking on the role of the native tribes, and the U.S. is the AI. And then we got some scenarios. Nice. Circled wagons, the Oregon Trail. Pretty, man, that's pretty amazing. I have driven the Oregon Trail, delivering RVs, and just insane. The whole thing to me is like, when these people had to cross over the mountains, it was like, oh my gosh. It's like, yeah, they'd be lucky if there was a pass, and then you better get over that pass before the first snow came in, because otherwise you were going to be stuck. So we have circled wagons, Santa Fe Trail. And then we have a combined scenario. Then we've got Transcontinental Railroad scenario. And then we've got the Northern Railroad, Southern Railroad. So we've got some quicker, looks like, scenarios for the railroad building. Custer's Revenge. Okay. And we get some designer notes about the solitaire game here. And we get our victory point condition schedule on the back. The back of the rulebook had our sequence of play as well as our victory point schedule and the credits. So it looks like we've got a player aid. Looks like we only have one. Talking about cube movement and sequence of play again. We have our mounted board, which looks like it's pretty large. Let's see what we can kind of squeeze on in here. Yeah, this board is actually pretty high. So it is 4 panels high. It looks like it's 2 panels thick. Yes, that is exactly what it is. So, as I'm banging things around here. So we have the Northern Plains player is going to be here. Oh, good old Bozeman, Montana. I've been to Bozeman. There's Fort Phil Kearney. Been there, been past there umpteen times. We got a victory point schedule for the Indian player, a casualties box and a victory point box here. Then we have the Southern tribes. So we have a Sacramento box. So it looks like what you would do is you would have your native players or player, if you're only playing with a couple, down on this side of the board. And then let's take a look here. I'll share the other half of the board, which is going to be the U.S. So the cavalry and the settlers, right? So there's the cavalry, and it is the Indian enemies ready box. So we have St. Louis. We got a casualties area here as well as our victory point tracker. We've got victory point schedule for the U.S. player. And then over here, we've got the settlers and wagon trains. So just kind of get an idea of what the actual board looks like. So here's the Transcontinental Railroad. So we've got that running through. That's coming from St. Louis. And it ends at the Rockies. Nice. So we get Kansas. We get a little bit of Texas, Colorado, a little bit of New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, the Dakotas. Sweet. I like the graphics. Graphics look pretty good. Doug Roberts has joined us. Good to see you, Doug. Points out this looks very interesting. Yeah, it does, don't it? Now, John says he got to play this weekend, this past weekend, and does not want to share what they thought of it. They want to see if my review is going to agree with them. All right, so we got a bunch of different cubes here. And we've got some discs. So these discs are going to share, basically, you're going to pull them out of this bag. This little draw bag. But it doesn't look like there's tons of discs. So it looks like each faction, well, maybe has 2 discs. Because you see a couple of white, a couple of orange, a couple of green. I'm sure we got some blue in there for the cavalry. Yeah, there's blue. So yeah, that would be my guess. That we're not going to have a ton of discs in there. Then we got our custom dice. These do not look like they are cut. They look like they're silk screened on. And they are. Would like to have seen them cut. So each of the factions are going to have their own custom dice. So to kind of give you an idea. So here's the cavalry dice. I mean, these dice are relatively chunky. So we've got a couple of symbols on each. So it looks like we've got some cross sabers and broken arrows. Yeah. So we get broken arrows on the orange, which is one of the tribes. Then we get spear and tomahawk crossed. So those are the faces there. And on the green as well. Then the brown, I want to say, I think these are the settlers. So we get a pickaxe and a revolver. And we get a broken arrow is the other face on here. And then these, I think purple was the enemies of the Indians. So we get a knife and broken arrow are the symbols that are on these. And it looks as if we have 3 blank sides and 3 sides with symbols. So it appears we've got like the combat. I think this is probably a combat hit or a casualty. Looks like we've got 2 of these and then the broken arrow 1. So it looks like each of the dice are set up like that. Except for the settlers. Settlers aren't. Settler die has 4 blank sides, 1 and 1. Huh, okay, cool. So, of course, those are going to end up going into everybody's collection there. So this is kind of cool. They are nice and chunky, the dice. Just wish they were cut. All right, so now we have the different decks. And I think, let me double check. I think that was it. Yes, that is all that's in here. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a like punch board with some tokens or anything like that. John says, so the Madman said that they're actually thinking about picking this up. They want to see the review first. So John says the cubes and discs, you get extras. That's cool. That's something that GMT does a lot. They usually give you some extra components. Unlike, some game companies where it's like, oh, well, you use 8 discs. That's your 8 discs. There you go. That's all you get. GMT usually includes some extras for you because they know things get lost. Cats get into game boxes. Small children get into game boxes. All right. These are not real big decks. Looks like these might be a dozen, 14 cards, something like that. Maybe 15. It's taking a guess. Maybe it's about 15. We're going to take a look at these in just a sec. All right, come on, come on. There we go. I was going to say this shrink wrap is on here really tight. Okay. So let's take a look at some of these cards. First of all, cardstock, nice and thick. Like with any game, I don't care what kind of cardstock the game has. Sleeve the cards. There are tarot-sized cards out there, sleeves and that. So I definitely recommend that. So these are the Southern Plains tribes. So we have Cochise, Geronimo, Quantum Parker, Satanta, Victorio. So we have war parties, we have events, Buffalo Hump, Taza. So these are war parties here. Big red meat. Jeez. Horseback, Kicking Bird, Little Mountain. And of course we get some flavor text here as well. Lone Wolf. All righty. So yeah, so there are 15. So there are 15 cards in each of the decks because as we can see, there are numbers up on top. The U.S. Cavalry. There you go. George Armstrong Custer. General Crook. Phil Sheridan. Fort Lincoln. So these were events. These are engagements. Fort Laramie. Fort Leavenworth. Fort Buford. Fort Concho. Fort Harker. Fort Phil Kearny. Fort Keogh. Fort Davis. Fort Ellis. Nelson Miles. I am not familiar who Nelson Miles is. And Plenty Coups. So it says, play in a Northern Plains tribe or North Purple region. Ignore treaty symbols. Indian cubes roll no more than 2 dice. Remove 2 NPT casualty cubes from the game. Okay. Like I said, this is looking very interesting. Sitting Bull. Wovoka, Red Cloud, Roman Nose, Black Kettle, Crazy Horse. Was Crazy Horse in? I don't know. When I think of Plains Indians, I don't necessarily think Crazy Horse. Standing Elk, Dull Knife, Rain in the Face, Spotted Tail, Touch the Clouds, Crowfoot, Two Moons, Little Crow, and Calf Shirt. So it appears that the Native Americans, that there is photography or artwork depicting them is reproduced, and those who did not have photos taken are just cards like this with just some different photography up top. All right, and then finally we've got the Settlers. Central Pacific Railroad, James Beckworth, Union Pacific, Black Hills Gold. There you go. Little Deadwood action there. Buffalo Bill Cody. I always talk about Fort Cody. When you're driving through, it's Fort Platte, Nebraska. For a second, I was going to say Wyoming, and I'm like, no, that's not where it's at. So Coco B says small parts get into cats and children. Yeah, I was going to say that, but dogs too. Let's not forget the dogs. So we had Little Blue River Raid, Wells Fargo, Oregon Trail, Homestead Act, Kansas Bleeds, Exodusters, The Mormons. Boy, I tell you, the Mormons, as they traveled out to this Great Salt Lake, they were a bunch of people who were walking too. Civil War vets, McCormick, and the Pony Express. Sweet. All right, so those are all of the 4 decks that you're going to utilize. So we have the 60, because I know how to add tarot-sized cards. We have the different dice. We've got the cubes, as well as the various different discs, and the little drawstring bag for us to put the discs in to draw from. We've got the nice mounted board, a player aid card. I'm surprised we only have one. The solitaire rules, and the full rule book. And that is what we find when we take everything from Plains Indian Wars outside the box. Once again, I am going to try to get this to the game table this weekend. My nephew Cameron and I and one of his friends are going to be getting together. So this might be something we only get a shot at 2 players. I'm not so sure, how their friend is with like historical games and things like that. But I will actually check this out solitaire as well. So there you have Plains Indian Wars from GMT Games. It is available right now. It does carry an MSRP of $65. Of course, whenever I talk about GMT Games, I always like to point out, if you have any interest in picking them up, don't wait around, because the print runs are not big. These are not huge print runs, so these sell out pretty quickly. So you don't want to be sitting around waiting 2 or 3 years for another print run of a game, because that's usually how it works. So once again, I will have a review of this as soon as I possibly can, because I think this looks like a game that's probably one that people are more curious about than, say, like Pacific War. Right? Pacific War is a reprint of a game that's been out for a long time, just been out of print for a long time, as far as I understand. So the Madman says, hopes Cameron's doing well. Yeah, he's fine. He's working at a theater, but then of course he's doing his weekends with the Air National Guard as well, and he's looking at going to community college too. So sweet. All righty, that is it for this time out. Of course, next week it is going to be War Game Week all week long. So we're going to be taking a look at some of the recent GMT games that have arrived. I have not decided which just yet. I think Pacific War is going to be one, just because it's massive. So Luke Anzalotti has joined us. I believe this is Luke's first visit in chat. Howdy, howdy. So they're saying they just got here just as I'm wrapping up. That's usually Viper Dave's time to show up. Oh, Mr. Eddie T said, don't forget about Elliot. Okay, so Elliot and I have been talking about him possibly returning to the gaming gang. And what he would do. Luke says, no, I've been here before. Sorry. I always forget. Anyway, he's thinking about returning to the gaming gang because the website he broke off and started doing his own thing, Voice of E, he forgot to pay for the hosting when it renewed, because he had paid for it for like a year in advance. So he forgot to do it again. Because he'd been, renewing it for a few years, completely forgot about it. And turns out, of course, a month after he forgot to pay for it, that was it. Website was gone. Everything was gone. So he had no backups, nothing. So the entire website is gone. But I got to be honest. the main driving force of his website were his videos. And the videos are still up on YouTube. So, yeah, okay. So the website's gone. But the only thing he had on the website outside of his videos, which he would do reviews and that, was like news pieces every once in a while. Not like the Gaming Gang has like news all the time. So he might be coming back. He might be making a return. And I told him what I would probably do because his son is back in the Chicago area. He was living out in California and has recently moved back to the Chicago area, and he plays games. He's a gamer. In fact, he came over the last time we all got together and played last month. And I told Elliot that I would actually have him review most of the board games that come through the Gaming Gang. And I will focus more on, obviously, war games, because Elliot's family isn't going to sit around playing war games. His son Brian probably would, but the rest of the family probably not. But they like all other sorts of games, other family games. And yeah, just, not war game stuff. That's what I'm basically saying. So I would tackle mainly role-playing games, and he would tackle more of the board games. Something we're discussing. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. So one of the reasons why Elliot left the Gaming Gang was, he wasn't producing enough content, at a certain point. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I should also point out, I am still looking for more RPG reviewers. Of course, they are PDFs that you get, but one of the bonuses of being a reviewer for the Gaming Gang with the role-playing game PDFs is you actually get a copy of what's being reviewed, not necessarily what you're reviewing. So you get a lot of goodies if you are reviewing PDFs for the Gaming Gang. So I need like 3. I need 3 reviewers. I now have only 2. I need 3 more because I've got loads of people asking me to review their RPGs. So if you are a fan of basically anything outside of Dungeons and Dragons, because Wizards of the Coast does not produce stuff in PDF. Everything is physical, or it's Roll20 or D&D Beyond, things like that. So that is really the only thing that I can't send out to other people to review. That is my thing that I have to review. So, so the Madman says, you mean some gamers have family members that play too? You're making me cry. Yes, the Madman's family don't like playing board games. I think they play role-playing games, but yeah, they're not board game fans. So 135 Pandemonium has joined us in chat. They've been here for a little bit. So that's what's going on with Elliot. So fingers crossed. We are going to Gen Con together, so he's got a pass. Because I guess they didn't realize his website was destroyed, which is cool with me. His son Brian's going to go as well. And of course, Cameron's coming with me to help me out, at least for a couple of days. And then he's got to do his guard stuff that weekend. So, yes. So we're going to have a big group of us at Gen Con. And like I said, Elliot is bouncing around, returning to the Gaming Gang. And that'd be very cool. If you have never checked out some of the old podcasts, I definitely recommend it. In fact, I would recommend, if you want to get a good idea of just how off the wall things could get, go to thegaminggang.com and do a search for Robinson Crusoe. And you will find an episode of the podcast where Elliot shares a news piece about it. And it's just like, what the hell is this game? It's like, what? It's like. So Doug Roberts says, I'm up for adoption. Flaming Heron says, people play games who actually review them. Something along those lines. So the Madman says, family tried role-playing games, but that didn't last. Yeah, it's just, and it's kind of funny too, because you can hit people up at a certain time and they have no interest. So I'll give you a great example. So my brother actually played Dungeons and Dragons before I did. And we were in grammar school. And he didn't play for long. He played maybe for a couple of months. And then I was introduced to it by, I don't even know who it was. I don't remember who it was. But it was a friend of my brother's, and I rolled up a character, didn't play anything. And I've said it before, I had an I think it was 1896 strength. So I went and bought the G1 module, thinking, hey, this is it, right? This is the game. But so my brother didn't really play games. He wasn't a gamer. Little video games as he got older, but that's about it. And now lately he actually hangs out, plays games with us. And I was going to run a Call of Cthulhu campaign, which I'd rather run an OSR fantasy campaign, just because I've spent 40 years running Call of Cthulhu. I like to run something a little different, right? But he was rolling up a character. He's like, yeah, I'll play. I was like, and I even said, I'm like, I don't know who the hell you are, but what did you do with my brother? So, all right. Anyway, Flaming Heron says, unfortunately, some people don't get that games have to last a good amount of time. Yeah, role-playing games, I think, in my opinion, with role-playing games, with people who've never played role-playing games before, especially if they're adults, you got to grab them. You got to grab them with your first session, and you got to grab them within about an hour and a half of that first session starting. I'm not talking about rolling up the characters. I'm talking your first actual game session. And you got to figure out how you're going to grab them. So it could be like just the action. It could be making them have to solve a mystery of some sort. So a lot of people dig that about role-playing games. They don't necessarily dig the combat aspects of it. The interaction with our NPCs, you got to figure out how to grab them. But they aren't for everybody. I mean, that's obvious. So Madman says at least he gives his family credit for giving it a try. They just didn't care for it. Yeah, that happens. So I guess, is Doug trying to weasel his way into somebody's game sessions here? I'm joking. I guess Doug Roberts doesn't live too far from the Madman. Flaming Heron says, sure, RPGs aren't for everyone. Don't worry. Some people I know shouldn't play RPGs because they make terrible characters and don't know how to role play. I'm one of these people. It's like, there's no wrong fun as long as nobody's getting their eye poked out or feelings hurt or feeling creepy at the table. Then that's okay. The one thing that I try to draw my players away from is I'm playing me in this situation characters. I try to make sure that they're not doing that, because to me, that's boring. Sort of like, and I don't expect people to sit around the table like using voices and, oh yes, my lord, and I have a cunning plan, me lord. I don't expect that. I don't do that. Important NPCs get voices. People on the street don't. So I guess it's kind of a clue sometimes. If I use a voice for a character, they're probably an important NPC. So Doug says that he and the Madman are both Motor City folks. Cool. Sweet. Not that far away from Chicago either. All righty. So Now you know what's going on with Elliot. Maybe. It'll probably be a while. But I'm working on it. So, Flaming Heron says, yeah, sure. To them, it's all about the best character, min-maxing stats and just rolling dice. The whole bad character stat helps you role play. That's like one of the big driving forces of playing a cool character. Like, once again, I don't expect people to be acting as if they're in a novel sitting around the table, but it gets pretty boring if it's like, oh, well, so it's basically what would Elliot, Greg, and Cameron do if it was the 1920s? And they're in the midst of these cultists. No, I don't. To me, it's less fun. A lot less fun than that. I know Elliot kind of sometimes in the past would approach his role playing like that. Well, it's, what would I do? And I'd finally convince him. It's like, no. What would the character do? And it's a lot more entertaining. All right. Hey, pretty long show tonight, everybody. Yes, just there's just way too much rambling. If you don't like it, you don't need to watch. Thank you very much. All right. So if you like this video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Gaming Gang Dispatch airs live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of the RuneQuest starter set from Chaosium Inc. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more, including Sammy's review of the final chapter of the Strength of Thousands Pathfinder Adventure Path. And I pointed out earlier, she really liked it. So check that out. Of course, I'll be back on Monday. Yeah, there's only 3 shows a week. What can I tell you? But those of you who watch live, thank you very much. If you took part in chat, extra bonus points. Those are victory points, experience points. There's something. You're going to get to do something with those points at some point. But I know a lot of people don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. All that matters is I really appreciate the fact that you take time out to check out the videos on this channel. So, just double checking. Yes, some folks are like, hey, appreciate you, Jeff. Yes, because if you missed earlier, I was talking about some of the crazy comments and emails I get from people. Don't worry, I got pretty thick skin. It just gets tiresome after a while, after years. Anyway, I'll be back on Monday. We are going to be taking a look at a GMT war game. Not sure which one yet. I will decide. So stay tuned. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, because that way you'll always know what's coming up on that evening's show. All right. So everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And of course, as always, here's hoping each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.